Could Canada actually join the European Union? What once sounded like an impossible internet theory is now being discussed by senior European leaders and supported by a surprising number of Canadians. But joining the European Union would involve much more than easier travel and free trade. It could force Canada to choose between deeper integration with Europe and the North American economy it has spent decades building. The idea gained attention after French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot suggested that Canada might join the European Union at some point. Finnish President Alexander Stubb has also encouraged Prime Minister Mark Carney to consider the possibility. Public interest is real. A YouGov survey found that 42% of Canadians supported joining the EU. An Abacus data survey in February 2026 placed support at 48%, compared with 28% opposed. YouGov also found considerable support for Canada in major European countries. So, could it actually happen? The first problem is legal. Article 49 of the Treaty on European Union says that any European state that respects democracy, human rights, and the rule of law may apply for membership. Canada clearly satisfies the democratic and economic requirements. It is a stable constitutional democracy with an advanced market economy. The problem is geography. Canada is not a European state, and no independent country located entirely outside Europe has ever become a full EU member. Supporters mention Cyprus and European territories in other parts of the world. But neither provides a clear precedent because they already belong to Europe's established political system. For Canada to join, all EU members would probably have to accept a broader definition of Europe or amend the treaties. Then Canada would have to adopt the body of European law known as the Access. It contains approximately 130,000 pages of laws covering trade, competition, banking, agriculture, energy, transportation, environmental rules, data, and the movement of workers. Every EU country would have to approve Canada's membership. The European Parliament would also need to consent. A single national government, parliament, or referendum could block the process. Membership would create enormous opportunities. Canadians would gain rights to live, work, study, and establish businesses across a market of more than 450 million people. Canada would gain a formal voice in a powerful economic bloc, while offering Europe energy, critical minerals, agriculture, Arctic territory, and Pacific access. But the economic price could be enormous. More than 71% of Canadian goods exports still went to the United States in 2025. The EU represented only 7.9% of Canada's total goods trade in 2024. Every EU member must join the European Customs Union and apply the same tariffs to outside countries. The EU also negotiates trade agreements on behalf of its members. Canada could not simply preserve its current agreement with the United States and Mexico while adopting Europe's tariff system. A new customs frontier with the United States could disrupt automobiles, energy, agriculture, steel, chemicals, and machinery. Some automotive parts cross the border several times before a finished vehicle is produced. Even small delays or tariffs could become extremely expensive. Membership would also mean sharing authority over national decisions. EU citizens would gain rights to live and work in Canada. European law would take priority in areas controlled by the Union. Canada would contribute to the EU budget, and supply management for dairy, poultry, and eggs could require major changes. Canada could eventually be expected to adopt the euro unless it negotiated an exemption. That would create a historic debate over the future of the Canadian dollar and the Bank of Canada. This is why full membership remains extremely unlikely. Prime Minister Carney has previously rejected formally joining, even while supporting a much closer relationship with Europe. The realistic option is something often described as CETA+. Canada and Europe already have a major trade agreement. Bilateral trade in goods and services reached approximately 130 billion euros in 2025. Canada also participates in European research programs and became the first non-European country to participate in procurement under the EU Security Action for Europe Defence Initiative. Canada could expand this relationship through digital trade, professional mobility, critical minerals, energy, defense manufacturing, artificial intelligence, pharmaceuticals, and common technical standards. This would give Canadian businesses greater European access without forcing the country to surrender its currency or abandon North American trade. So, will Canada become the 28th member of the European Union? Probably not, at least not under the current treaties or economic structure. But the discussion is important. It shows that Canadians are searching for alternatives to overwhelming dependence on the United States, and that Europe increasingly sees Canada as a strategic partner. The future may not place Canada inside the European Union, but it could make Canada the closest and most powerful European partner outside it. And in a changing world, that may be the more valuable position.